Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to the Karey Carbaugh podcast, episode number 24. And for my Spanish-speaking friends, bienvenidos. Bienvenidos, chicos y chicas, niños de todas edades. Let me start that over. I didn't do that right in Spanish. Let me start that again. Bienvenidos, damas y caballeros, chicos y chicas, niños de todas edades. Y bienvenidos a el Karey Carbaugh podcast, número 24. Sorry about that. My brain was not switching to Spanish as quickly tonight. I've titled this podcast, Self-Care is Not Selfish. And I don't know that that translates real well for my Spanish-speaking friends, the little play on words there, but hopefully the message will transfer over, even though the play on words doesn't. I do want to welcome everyone in tonight. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're joining me live or on the replay. My name is Karey Carbaugh, and this is the Karey Carbaugh podcast. I can't believe we're on episode number 24 already. I know I say that quite often, but the numbers just keep zooming by here. I can't believe it's Wednesday night again, and here we are. But welcome in. And I would appreciate it if you'd let me know if you're watching live or on the replay by dropping an L or the word live if you're watching live, or R or replay if you're watching on the replay. That always helps me to know who's catching this live and who's catching it on the replay. And as I go through this, please do let me know if you're getting value. That also helps me to know what content is resonating with people, maybe things I need to change up a little bit. So I appreciate you letting me know that. As usual, I'm not going to try to respond to comments live, but I will try to get back to those this evening, or if you're watching on the replay, as quickly as possible after that. I'm working on a few methods that I may be able to start taking comments live, but that's still in the process. As many of you know, I do have low vision. I'm legally blind, and that'll become a little more obvious tonight because I do have a few things I want to read from an article that I found on the internet, and I'm going to actually use my phone to do that. So if you see me looking down at my phone and not looking at the camera, that's why. And then I'm also going to use voiceover to read some biblical passages so that you can get a sense of how I often read larger amounts of information. But let's dive into tonight's topic. Self-care is not selfish. I think as Americans, and maybe other societies do this too, we often think of self-care in two extremes. Either people who take no time to care for themselves and are always caring for others, and maybe view self-care as being selfish, that they always need to do for others and be for others. I think of pastors, I think of counselors, perhaps parents and family members of people who are vision impaired or have other disabilities. I think it's easy to think that if we take care of ourselves, that's being selfish. And then there's the other extreme where people think that they need to always be taking care of themselves, and they're not looking out for the needs of their neighbors and those people around them. I think we see this a lot in today's society where people just do their own thing. They come home from work, they go into the garage, they pull into the garage, they turn their car off, shut the garage door, go in their house, don't even know what their neighbors need, much less reach out to try and help their neighbors. I happen to live in a neighborhood where I know several of my neighbors, but I know a lot of neighborhoods don't. People don't know each other. And so I think it's important to take care of ourselves and to find that balance between the two extremes. Not always be taking care of others, but also not never be taking care of others. And so where is that middle ground? I think that depends on the individual, and that's something that each one of us needs to find that balance for ourselves, where we do take time, whatever time is needed, to recharge our battery and to be there for other people when they need us. If our batteries run down, we can't pour into other people. And so I think it is important for us to take that time to recharge ourselves. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments. So what is self-care? Well, I think that's different for different people. Self-care for some may be watching a movie, maybe getting a massage, or eating comfort food. That could be self-care. Maybe taking a walk, going for a run, exercising. These are all forms of self-care. Maybe meditation. But oftentimes, I think the world view of self-care is strictly caring for our physical and mental and emotional needs, not necessarily our spiritual needs. And that's where I wanted to dive in a little bit into some biblical passages. Because this article that I found on the internet, I was actually planning to do a different topic tonight, which I will do in the future, but I was a little late getting home tonight, and I found this article on the internet, and it breaks self-care down into 4 distinct aspects with a Bible verse that's tied to each one of those. And so I wanted to share those tonight and share the Bible verse. As most of you know, if you've been following my podcast for any length of time, I am a Christian. I don't hide that. I don't push that belief on others necessarily. I welcome other people in. If you're not a believer, I would encourage you to listen with an open mind and take from this what you will. I'll try to relate the Bible passages to a worldly view as best that I can. But I do think it's important for us to stay grounded as believers. If you're a believer, I think it's important to stay grounded in the Word. And that's why I try to not overly delve into that in my podcasts, but I do try to bring that in as a believer. And I hope that most of you will not find that offensive. If you do, let me know that. I can take that as well. But hopefully most of you will be able to take this in the light that it's intended. So let's dive in here. We're going to look at 4 biblical perspectives on self-care. Some of them overlap with the worldly view. Some of them are a little bit different. Let's take a look at what this article points out and what the Bible passages have to say. So I'm going to use voiceover here.
Page 5 of 7, page 6 of 17, page 7 of 7, to spend time, page 6 of 7, 1 intentional prayer.
Okay, intentional prayer. Let's take a look at this verse.
Mark 1:35 says.
That's in Mark 1, chapter 35. I'm sorry, Mark chapter 1, verse 35.
Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house and went off to a solitary place, where he prayed.
Okay, so this talks about connecting with God, spending time with God. If you're not a believer, spending time with your spiritual source, whatever that is. Again, I'm not going to apologize for being a believer, but I also recognize that this podcast reaches some people who are not believers. So whatever that means for you, spend time with your spiritual source. Spend time with God if you're a believer. That doesn't necessarily mean in the morning. If you're not a morning person, like I'm not, spend time with Him whenever it fits for you. I apologize that my screen keeps talking. Every time I let it go inactive for a minute, the screen goes dim, so that's what you're hearing. But spend time with that source, with your creator, with God, when it best fits you. If it's in the evening, if it's going to church, which also fulfills some other things that we'll talk about here in a minute. Whether it's being involved in group Bible studies like I am. We'll talk about that here in a minute too. Let's move to number 2.
Page 7 of Step 2, spend time alone.
So spend time alone. This is important.
Mark 6, 31 minus 32 says,
So Mark chapter 6, 31 to 32.
Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place.
Okay, so this talks about how Jesus and his followers, they had been taking care of people and surrounding themselves with people all day. And he recognized this need for solitude, for togetherness. In this case, it was the small group of them, but it might be individually. I think this is important for caregivers, whether it's parents or family members of people with disabilities, whether it's nurses, counselors, pastors. I think it's very important to spend that time alone. Again, recharging your battery. Because being around people, especially if you're not an extrovert, being around people can be draining. Now, if you're an extrovert, maybe you don't need as much time alone. But perhaps you do need some time alone. So this is one that each individual has to kind of gauge themselves. But don't think of it as selfish. If you need time alone, take that time to recharge your battery.
Page 8 of 17.
Number 3.
Matthew 15, 3. Keep up with our needs.
Keep up with our needs. What does this mean?
Matthew 15, 32 says.
So Matthew chapter 15, verse 32.
Address. Read in Matthew 15, 32 says. Matthew 15, 32, page 9 of Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I have compassion for these people. They have already been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. I do not want to send them away hungry, or they may collapse on the way.
Okay, so this is Jesus recognizing that the people that he's ministering to have needs. They need food. They need good food, wholesome food, or they're going to collapse. Again, if you're not a believer, think of this in terms of those around you, in terms of people you're caring for, maybe. Make sure that their needs, their physical needs, are taken care of. And at the same time, make sure that your needs are being taken care of. I know many people who are in professions of giving and caring for others. They don't take time to eat for themselves, to eat good food, wholesome food. Maybe they grab junk food all the time because it's the only thing they think they have time for. If you don't take time to, again, recharge your battery in a different way by filling your body with food, your battery's going to run down. Your body's going to run down. And that's not going to be good for you. That's also not going to be good for those people that you're caring for or that you're trying to help. So, again, I think this message can apply to all of us. The need to take care of our bodies and take care of our physical needs. And number 4.
Page 10 of 17. Page 9 of page 8 of 17. 3. Keep up. Page 9 of 17.
There's number 4.
4. Take care of our bodies.
Take care of our bodies. This is going to talk a little bit more in depth what we just talked about.
Page 10 of do you not know that article? Page 9 of address. 4. Take care of our bodies. 1 Corinthians 6, 19-20 says.
So First Corinthians 6, 1 Corinthians 6.
This is when Jesus feeds the 4,000.
Hang on.
4. Take care of our bodies.
There we go.
1 Corinthians 6, 19-20 says.
So 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 and 20.
Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own, you were bought at a price. Therefore honor God with your bodies.
Okay, so this is talking specifically about honoring God with our bodies, but I think we can extrapolate from this, and this specific scripture or passage is talking about sexual immorality in particular, if you take the context surrounding it. However, I believe we can interpret from this the broader intent of taking care of our body, because our body is not our own. It belongs to our Creator. It belongs to God. And if you're not a believer at all, think of your body as literally the shell that surrounds your life. If you don't take care of that, your life is going to be cut short. But as believers, it's important for us to remember that our body is a gift from God. Our body is something we need to take care of. It's a temple. And I'll be the first to admit, I don't always take care of mine the way I should. I don't always eat right. I don't always exercise the way I should. But as we step back and take a look here at self-care, I think all four of these aspects are very important. Taking care of our body, taking care of our spirit by spending time alone, by spending time with God, taking care of our emotional well-being, and taking care of our physical well-being, which I guess I mentioned a minute ago. It seemed like there was a fourth one, but I think you get the point. It's important for us to take care of all of these aspects of ourselves. And it's not selfish for us to take time within moderation, within balance. But if we don't take that time that we need, and some of us may need more time than others, which is also okay. But if we don't take that time and balance out self-care with caring for others, that's what can lead to burnout and can lead to other problems, whether it's depression, whether it's other psychological disorders. As I was preparing for this tonight, I felt a little bit like I was kind of going back to my psychology roots. I don't know how many of you know that my degree is in counseling, psychology and sociology, specifically with a child and adolescent emphasis. But as I was preparing for this, it kind of did make me feel like I was going back into a little bit of my psychology roots, which I haven't practiced for a while, other than just in volunteer capacities. And I think for my friends out there who are visually impaired or blind or disabled, again, it's important to take care of ourselves in order that we can care for others. So it's not an either or. It's a balance, and it's a take care of take care of ourselves and take care of others. So it's not selfish to do so. And with that, I believe that brings me to the end of what I had to share tonight. I appreciate you sticking with me. Once again, if you got value from this, let me know by putting a V or value in the comments. Let me know if you're watching live by dropping an L or live in the comments, or if you're watching on the replay, drop an R or replay. I would greatly appreciate that. If you have comments or suggestions, let me know that as well. Anyone who has any ideas for future podcasts, things you'd like me to talk about, let me know. I'm always open. I'm always looking for ideas. Oftentimes I'm coming up with the ideas for these a day or so before going live. So let me know if you've got ideas. And once again, if you'd like to be added to my email list, I've got a few emails that I'm going to start blasting out some emails to, reminding them about these podcasts. If you'd like to be added to that or some future upcoming private events, let me know that by dropping the word email in the comments, and I'll reach out to you. Or direct message me. The best way is on Facebook at my name, Karey Carbaugh, and you can see the spelling of that in the title. Let me know your email address. You don't have to share that publicly, and I'll blind copy everybody so that nobody sees each other's email addresses. Hadn't thought about the pun on that until just now, blind copy, as opposed to some of my topics that have been about blindness. But anyway, I hope you have a great evening, and once again, thank you so much for joining me and for supporting these podcasts. We're almost to episode 25, and I never thought we would even do one. So I'll look forward to seeing you all next week on episode number 25, unless I pop up in the meantime somewhere. Until then, have a blessed week and a blessed day, and do something positive for somebody around you. Be a blessing to those around you. All right? With that, I'll bid you a farewell and a good night or a good day, depending on when you're watching this, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye for now.